Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our May 7th Power On ceremony. I'm Charles McGlashan. I serve as the chairman of the Marin Energy Authority, and we serve as your co-host today with Marin Green Leadership. Welcome to our ceremony of Power On, a fairly momentous occasion in our little corner of the world here in Marin as we go live with electricity in the first community choice aggregation in California history this very day. I hear little rumors, however, that this event may very well have ramifications elsewhere. As a pioneer for other communities in the state that want greener power at attractive prices, communities that might want influence on their cost and policy in a local boardroom for a change, communities that might want some power to empower local jobs and economic vitality. We are on. Thanks to you, we are on. I want to make some remarks here about the past, present, and future very quickly. A day like this would not be possible without the tireless work of some critical people along the 7-year road to the present. First of all, Assemblywoman Carol Migden, who led passage of AB 117 in the first place back in 2002, and that's the law that allows us to do this. Rebecca Collins, who first told me about this on the lawn at the College of Marin when we were fantasizing about a greener energy future. And the Board of Supervisors, my colleagues over here. These people had to take a lot of risks. None financial, none to the general fund, none to the taxpayer. But they took a lot of political risk along the way. Supervisor Hal Brown, who saw this as early as I did on the lawn, he was actually in a more civilized chair at the College of Marin, and he stayed with us the whole way with his support and courage. Supervisor Susan Adams, who cast the deciding vote to help us stay alive to this day. And Supervisor Steve Kinsey and Judy Arnold, who really get the message of local power empowering local economic vitality. Thanks to you guys so much. The California Energy Commission, North Marin Water District, and Marin Municipal, where I was back when this thing started, who actually provided the first key startup funding to look at this opportunity way back in 2003. I also want to thank the hardworking my colleagues on the board of the Marin Energy Authority, Sean Marshall, the vice chair, and careful questioner of all assumptions. Damon Connolly, who actually got some of that $8 billion back from Enron and those characters earlier this decade, who works on our behalf now as the chairman of our technical committee. Director Barbara Thornton, who perhaps is the bravest board member because she actually signed up to be our treasurer. Director Lou Tremaine, who with Rebecca and me on the lawn back at the College of Marin, first convinced Hal that this could be an opportunity worth considering. Lou. Dr. Tom Cromwell of Belvedere, perhaps one of the calmest and most articulate board liaisons to his council. Dick Collins, one of the busiest experts on contracting and business negotiations, a guy who has never failed to volunteer for yet another tough assignment. Actually, he signed up for a doozy because he and I have to work on the hiring now that we get to start. Jonathan Leone of Sausalito, who asks all of the key questions, in fact, numerous questions, and keeps us working and working even when it gets really late. And then in solidarity, I just want to note Chris Martin of Ross, who had to leave the agency after the first year, but I've never seen anybody light up with more joy when he saw the big windmills in Solano County. Chris. I want to thank the staff of the MEA, Key Advisors, and Navigant Consulting. Navigant took a lot of hits early on because they were the first group that had to tell us something that sounded virtually impossible. Don Wise, our director. I'll be saying a little bit more about Don in just a minute. Beth Rasmussen, who in this startup works on everything from bank loans to energy contracts. Where are you, Beth? Yordis Weaver, who keeps us on track every day. Jamie Tuckey, our technology master extraordinaire. Greg Stepanisic, who keeps us legal. And not last in my own ability to survive, Leslie Alden, who's managed to become absolutely critical to virtually every issue related to the agency. And then there's this gorgeous woman in a red hat, my wife, Carol. And I'll tell you, she has seen me at the heights of inspiration on this effort, and she also comes back to my side when I'm in utter pain from the blitz of criticism and political machinations. This has not been an easy road. Thank you, Carol, for hanging in there. To our incredibly brave citizens who stepped up in February, including Skip Berg and Lori Grace and her sister Gwendolyn, we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the citizens who stepped forward to finance the agency back in February. It was dark outside and really dark in my office until these brave community leaders stepped up. Two key financial advisors along the way, Peter Lucchetti, our financing expert, and Jonathan Freeman, political combat expert. Thank you to you both. And then the tireless advocates, so many of you out there, too numerous to mention all by name. These are people who have been here on the program from the very beginning, watching the data, pushing us always to be better, and dialoguing with critics at every turn. We definitely wouldn't be here without you today. Next, I thank our customers. It's kind of a rare thing for government to be able to thank its customers. It's critical for our new business to remember that without the 7,000 people who are staying with us, that we would not be here without them, and that serving them well will be our ongoing mission. Thanks to you who are giving us a chance. And finally, I want to thank with deep sincerity our co-sponsors for today's event, the newly formed Marin Green Leadership and the individuals who run that organization. You'll hear more from them in a few minutes. So the past is a story of deep research, half a dozen peer reviews, a year and a half spent with over 50 of our elected colleagues and their city managers and staffs, an analysis punctuated by moments of disbelief that something like this could never be done locally. I know many of you won't believe me when I say that back in '05, when the first feasibility analysis came back, even I was skeptical. Was such a thing possible? How could we possibly double our renewable power and reduce costs? It took 2 law firms and a peer review, the first of 6 or 7 peer reviews that we've done to date, to ease our own skepticism and convince ourselves that we were heading in the right direction. I'll tell you, that work paid off handsomely later when the political wars began. Several local officials still can't believe this is possible, still are sort of fighting against the reality of such a thing, and I often remember to tell myself to consider the source. We are indeed breaking into a monopoly's territory, and no one goes down easily without a fight when you do that. So it's serious. But we are here today to say that the proof is in the power. We've done it, and we propose a future that will be a lot better thanks to all of you. With respect to the present, the most important thing to say today is that we are on now. We are cheaper. We are cheaper and we're greener. My buddies and I like to say we're cheaper, but we're better. Today we plug in the power with 78% non-fossil. We double qualified renewables and we provide them at lower rates. No one who misses the marketing war or any of the notices will get burned by this. We did it. And for those deep green customers like me, we get to buy 100% renewable power at very nominal extra cost. And as we watch in horror the spreading damage in the Gulf of Mexico due to our national dependence on oil drilling, our little corner of the world proves that there's a better way, there's another way, there's a greener way. And we bring our power supply home, where we, the community, get to make the policy choices with each other, eye to eye. So today we power on for a new vision of distributed energy, energy efficiency, and local power for America. President Obama asked communities like ours to do these things by exhorting, yes, we can. Well, we're here to answer our commander-in-chief that in Marin County, yes, we are. I'll be back at the very end in a little while to talk about the future, but right now I want to turn the mic over to Dawn Wise. Many of you guys know Dawn. Dawn is a rock. The best compliment to my own style, she is just the facts, ma'am. And she's been unfazed by the vicissitudes of the marketing and political war that we're in these days. Unflappable, she's answered the same questions repeatedly with reserve and patience. An inspiration to us all as we remain patient and persistent in pursuing what is right. With Dawn at the helm, her quiet voice is moving mountains of change, reducing cost, bringing job opportunity here to Marin, and most important of all, reducing a boatload of greenhouse gas emission. We are achieving that together today. She's been a leader in a rough storm and has been working 2 jobs for us so we can launch today. Please welcome Dawn Wise.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is an exciting day. Well, back in 2001, I was managing a number of sustainability programs for the County of Marin. And I became charged with conducting a greenhouse gas inventory for the whole county. Back then, this was actually a rather new concept, but we set forward with a hearty analysis of our emissions, which led to target setting to see how much we could reduce our greenhouse gas emissions in Marin. How to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions was another question. So much of our emissions were tied to energy use, and although we tried, we could not increase the amount of renewables from our energy provider. For this reason, when Assembly Bill 117 was drafted, we submitted an enthusiastic letter of support in hopes that this legislation enabling community choice aggregation would allow us to choose a better supply of power, a greener supply of power. After the legislation passed, we teamed up with some brilliant energy professionals from Navigant Consulting and began the process of study, analysis, modeling, data crunching, analysis, and then some reanalysis. And what the analysis showed us is that we could, in fact, purchase power that was twice as green at the same cost customers already pay. Now, at first, this didn't seem feasible, so we subjected all of the analysis to multiple peer reviews and scrutiny from an army of internal critics and outside experts. I think it's worth noting that a lot of this analysis was paid for by the California Energy Commission, Marin Municipal Water District, and North Marin Water District, who were really there at the very beginning. The checking and rechecking continually validated the analysis. We weren't missing anything. The plan was workable. The next few years were spent sharing the analysis and the vision with the stakeholders and the decision makers throughout our community. There were people everywhere that said that it could not be done, that it was too difficult, or that it was too grand of a vision. I chalked up countless meetings and breakfasts with council members and interest groups to grind through the questions and the details. Countless presentations were made to community groups and city and town councils. And I'm pretty sure that for about a year, I had 364 night meetings to attend at one council or another. They did give me one night off around Christmas, I think. And through all that, I actually managed to stay married. So I owe a big thank you to my husband, Tripp, over there, who has picked up the slack through all the late night meetings and all the long days and nights on the computer. Meeting after meeting, analysis after analysis, peer review after peer review, the facts spoke for themselves. The plan worked. We stand here today serving customers in Marin with electricity that is 25% California certified renewable at the same price that they would have paid otherwise. And for customers who want more, we are delivering deep green 100% renewable power for a few dollars more per month. Our program will be able to reduce 500,000 tons of CO2 from Marin's greenhouse gas emissions each year. And if you look behind you, you'll see some of the power being generated right now from a wind turbine that we installed about 2 years ago. The plan worked, and today is the proof. The reason it worked is because we brought the vision of our community for renewable power and stable cost together with the meticulous, prudent, and perceptive planning by our technical partners. I can't say enough to express the depth of knowledge and foresight brought forward by our technical team. John DeLessie, are you here today, John? John.
Hey, John.
John played such a critical role in turning a pie-in-the-sky vision into a real, on-the-ground, workable plan. Kirby Dussel, also from Navigant, has been another key part of the team. Although your extensive work has been mostly behind the scenes, we all know that we wouldn't be here without your diligent efforts. Thank you. We also have a dedicated legal team, including Greg Stepanisic, who is here today. Our legal team ran a marathon to plow through new ground and get us where we are now. So in closing, what is most exciting to me about today is that we are showing other communities how to unhook from fossil fuels, how to shift to a renewable future, to stabilize cost, to grow our local economy while protecting the planet and the future. My children, Tyler and Hannah, can you guys wave? Yay. They are here to see what we are doing for their generation. The difference we are making today makes all the hard work worth every bit of effort. I would now like to turn the mic over to Amy Zimfer from the EPA. The EPA Power Partnership is a voluntary program that supports the organizational procurement of green power by offering advice, technical support, tools, and resources. A couple of years ago, we tried to become a green power partner, but because we didn't have a choice in our energy supply at that time, it wasn't possible for us. So today, we can. So it's really a great pleasure to be able to share this exciting day with you. And with that, Amy Zimfer is Associate Air Division Director for the U.S. EPA Region 9 at the office in San Francisco and serves as the region's Senior Management Lead for Clean Energy and Climate Change. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Amy.
Well, thank you very much, Dawn and Charles. Wonderful to hear the story about how many people it took to get to the place you are today. I am just thrilled to be able to be here to recognize a local program that has chosen to be a leader in the fight against climate change by purchasing renewable energy. As Dawn mentioned, I'm especially here today to welcome Marin Energy Authority into US EPA's Green Power Partnership. We want to congratulate you all for making the choice to buy more renewable electricity. And we want to use the extraordinary example you are setting here to inspire other communities throughout the country to take the same step. You are the first community aggregation community in the country, so we're looking forward to taking that out. As a member and a partner of EPA's Green Power Partnership, you have committed to buy green power that meets or exceeds partnership requirements within the next 6 months. So you're going to have to produce and then report on those and the purchasing activities annually. So this gives us a mechanism to share your accomplishments and successes throughout the country. And this will be reported on EPA's website. Marin Energy Authority's commitment to clean, domestic, renewable green power reflects the principles of the President. He believes these principles are essential to our nation's energy future, decreasing our dependency on foreign fuels, creating new jobs in emerging clean energy technology, and reducing pollution that is a danger to the health of our planet and our children. By choosing green power, Marin Energy Authority is helping all of us breathe easier. Conventional electricity in the country is a significant source of greenhouse gas emissions and the single largest industrial source of air pollution in the United States. It is responsible for roughly 2/3 of the nature's sulfur dioxide emissions, 1/4 of the nitrogen oxide emissions that is a major contributor to smog, 1/3 of the toxic mercury air emissions, and about 40% of the country's carbon dioxide emissions. Together, this air pollution contributes to a number of serious public health and environmental problems, including respiratory and cardiovascular disease, asthma that too many of our children continue to experience, regional haze, acidification of water bodies, and of course, climate change. This commitment that Marin Energy Authority has made will reduce significant levels of carbon dioxide, and it will be equivalent to taking many, many cars off of the road. We look forward to Marin Energy Authority demonstrating successful achievement of our renewable energy goals in the country, and as a green power partner, you are going to serve as a model for the rest of the West Coast and for the rest of the communities throughout the U.S. Thank you very much, and it's a great honor to be here today with all of you.
I now have the great pleasure of introducing Tom Roth, representing Congresswoman Woolsey today, her senior policy advisor. A good friend and supporter of all things right. He has been a joy for me to know these past 10 years. Welcome, Tom.
Well, I have to say the same thing. First time I met Charles, I was just blown away with his enthusiasm. And today, as the wind blows, we can feel that enthusiasm power Marin County. Congresswoman Woolsey could not be here today, but she did want me to say a few words for her and to present an award to the authority here for this wonderful startup and for being really leaders. I'd also like to mention that, I read the Chronicle article today, and I don't know, I think the word risk was maybe 400 times in that article. I'm not quite sure. I think our folks here have really done their homework, and they certainly have minimalized the risk. It is a new startup, and probably the greatest risk is the political risk. But at the same time, aren't we at a time now where the risk of keeping the status quo is much, much greater than taking the steps we need to change our energy future? I think we just need to look at the Gulf oil spill to realize that. We can't keep relying on those types of fossil fuels. We have to look at our watersheds and the kind of degradation that has happened in watersheds because of different dams. And we have to look at what has gone on across the country as far as degradation and smog because of reliance on fossil fuels. So we really need to make that change. The risk, again, is much greater to do nothing. So I really want to thank Charles and other folks here and the EPA for stepping up. And the EPA has quietly over the years, even under the last administration, been working diligently to bring us to where we are today. And I'm so glad that now I think being a little political here, a cloud has been removed and the EPA can really shine. But, but Charles, here you are.
Thank you.
This is for Marin Clean Energy for blazing the trail to a sustainable energy future.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. We're real. We have papers. Thank you so much, Tom. Dawn and I will flip a coin as to which office that goes in. Actually, we don't even have an office yet. We got to work on that. I want to introduce Senator Mark Leno now. Words can hardly express my sincere gratitude to our Senator, Mark Leno. He's followed this issue from his time back in the Assembly in '02, and he's always responded when a bit of state leadership has been needed. And I'll tell you, it's been needed frequently these days. A veteran of smear himself, in service of what is right, he hesitated not 1 minute when the data of our MCE effort was made clear, and not one moment when the ugly specter of Prop 16 reared its head. A leader with courage and integrity, he has also helped at key junctures with the Attorney General's Office and the Utilities Commission. He's also willing to take a leadership stand and to deliver, and he does it all the time on social and environmental issues. Oh, and by the way, on January 1st of this year, 10 bills authored by Senator Leno became law, so he's no slacker on his other duties either. Please help me welcome Senator Leno.
Thank you, Charles. Marin County, welcome to the 21st century. And what a long, strange trip it's been. You know, if Dawn's a rock, Charles McGlashan is a rock star. Could we hear it for Charles? And his partner in crime, Carol Misseldine. This is a really exciting day, and I have to tell you, San Francisco doesn't like to be put in second place. But you have done it, Marin. You have done it, and you've got the battle scars to show for it. So Charles has done a very good job, a comprehensive job of thanking all of those who have brought us to this time and place. But I also want to thank the Marin County Board of Supervisors, and let's also thank the city council members of Fairfax and Belvedere, Mill Valley and San Anselmo and San Rafael and Sausalito and Tiburon for stepping up to the plate. Amy touched on this appropriately. It should not be overlooked, of course, in our joy and enthusiasm and sense of accomplishment. And of course, the work is yet to be done. But we're here today because our planet is in peril, and we know that all too well. The polar ice caps are melting at rates far beyond anyone's expectation. It was to be summertime without any ice in 2025 or 2020. Now it could be 2015. And we know when that ice that is on land, as in Greenland, comes into the water, the displacement is only greater. And we know that the oceans will rise, our bay will rise, and life as we know it will be put at risk. The quality of our air, causing epidemics of asthma. The number of children, you walk into a classroom today and ask kids who are dealing with asthma to raise their hands, you'll see 50, 60, 70% of the kids in the class raise their hands. And EPA's recently put out numbers as to all of the deaths related to the quality of our air. So the time is now. And what I think is so compelling about this gathering today, and I hope everyone will take it in by looking around, that yes, it takes a village, but this is a community that has come together to deal with a global issue and is leading the way, setting and establishing a model for other communities to follow. And there's something very heartening about that, that we've got a chance to save this planet for those beautiful little kids over there. So I just want to also offer my thanks to then Assemblywoman Carol Migden for her vision and working with a very talented consultant named Paul Fenn to construct this pathway to community choice aggregation. And hey, Paul, I'm glad you're here. I can't imagine you wouldn't be. I also just want to say that, unfortunately, and this is not to put a cloud in the sky, they're as clear as can be, but nothing wrong with speaking forthrightly. There's one partner, a major partner, an irreplaceable partner, without whom we could not be here, who is not here. And that is the partner who will deliver and distribute and transmit the energy that the Marin Energy Authority will purchase. And unfortunately, they're not here because they have so shamed themselves they can't appear in public and be with good company. It's just a fact, folks. Come on. Now, I don't say this to point a finger in the eye, but to say that this is day one. We've got to work together. We're partners in this. And we need them, and they're going to need us. And I hope that they can open their eyes and recognize that the future will not look like the past. Because if we don't do things differently, there will not be a future. And as AB 117 was written, as we have now read about in the papers so many times, and thank you, CPUC, for stepping up to the plate to be the watchdog that you were created to be. That our investor-owned utilities, by statute, are required to cooperate fully, not interfere, cooperate fully. And unfortunately, Charles and gang and Dawn and all of you have had to fight this, at times, seemingly insurmountable battle. And I've been in Charles's offices on the not-so-good days, where he just was so forlorn and said, all of this work, all of these years of effort and toil and investment and hope and promise, they might get us, Mark. They're going to take us to court. They're going to drain us of funds. And so, you know, we all rally round. And, of course, the next day, spirits would be revived. But it shouldn't have had to been this way. And, of course, there's this other issue looming, which could directly interfere, given the timetable for San Francisco County, with its ability to follow in the successful footsteps of Marin County. And that little thing, of course, will be on the ballot on June 8th. But none of this is cooperating fully. And why I take this somewhat personally as a legislator, and I know Jared joins me in this, we sat through hearings, legislative hearings constitutionally mandated when Prop 16 had its public introduction in the legislature. We were there to grill the proponents. And the personal response is that AB 117 was created legislatively. And PG&E was a part of that process. They were at the negotiating table. Paul could probably tell this better than I, but I think amendments were taken on their behalf. They supported the bill as amended. And trust me, if they wanted it killed, it would have been killed, or the governor would not have signed it. But they didn't. And so, and I say this to any interest that involves itself in the legislative process, that if you engage and help create something monumental and visionary, and then for whatever reasons, a year or two or three later, you have a change of heart and mind, you're right, of course, but it's also your obligation to come back to the legislature and state your case, express your concern, and let there be public hearings and debate, and allow the legislature the opportunity to consider whatever discord you now identify, whether you don't like opt-out, you want opt-in, or whatever it might be. There's, I believe, a responsibility to return to the legislature. None of that happened, and of course they went straight to the ballot. So I thought it incumbent upon me as a legislator, so offended, that we have some response. I thought there should be a response, because what message does that send to any other very powerful corporate interest that participates in the legislative process? So we introduced a little bill that had a hearing a week or so ago, and what it would have done would require that when a publicly regulated utility wishes to transfer ratepayer-generated profits to its parent shareholder corporation, that they should have a required 2/3 vote of the ratepayers before that could happen. I should have invited you all to the committee hearing because the bill did not leave the committee. It might have been a little overly broad in its writing, but I think the message was delivered. So again, it's just a thrill to be with you. The day couldn't be more beautiful. I think hope and promise is alive, and you set such a great example. And I have to tell you, this is now just my second year of having the great pleasure of representing Marin County in the state legislature, that I learned so much from you, what community involvement and leadership is all about, what strong grassroots it is, and it's a beautiful thing to behold. So it's a great pleasure to be with you today. Jared, would you join me, please? Why don't you take it from here?
All right. Well, you know, Mark, one of the most fulfilling parts of our job is that we get to recognize really important and noteworthy things that happen in this district that we share. Important milestones, the people that work tirelessly to bring them about, and I can't think of too many things bigger and more important and more hopeful than the milestone that we're recognizing today. I think it's worthy of recognition by the state legislature, and so I'm very proud to join you on this joint resolution from the State Senate and the State Assembly commemorating the Marin Energy Authority for this great Power On occasion. Congratulations, Charles. Congratulations to all of you who have worked so tirelessly to make this milestone happen, and nothing but success is my wish for you going forward. Thank you.
All right. Don't get it on the neck.
Come up here. Let's hold this baby up. Woo! Board members, colleagues, get up. This is for you. This is for the people. Thank you, guys.
You got it. You got it. Congratulations.
Don, if you'll join me here up at the front for a second. So, This awesome device that you see in front of us here, this is a high technology piece of equipment. And so Dawn and I are, okay, I'll admit, symbolically going to plug in the power right now. Ready? Here we go. We'll leave that guy right here. Oh, don't let that thing get unplugged. Let the record show that the lights did not go out. PG&E is still transmitting and distributing that power to us. All we did is figure out what green sources it comes from. I want to now introduce our partners in this event and our partners in educating the people on what's to come over the next year. And I want to introduce our co-sponsor of today's event, Marin Green Leadership. And it's led by my dear friend, Gordon Bennett, a veteran of the Sierra Club Executive Board. And he serves as the president of Marin Green Leadership. And I just want to shout out to the director who's working still, never stops working, Alex Bischoff in the back, the director of Marin Green Leadership. These guys were really strict that I wasn't supposed to embarrass them publicly and to say a lot, but the one thing I do have to say is before you leave today, there is a stunningly beautiful program that commemorates today's occasion, and there are over 220 businesses in Marin County listed in that program. And with the beautiful design work of Kiki Laporta and the excruciatingly hard work from Marla Fields and Jim Sharoni and Alexander Bischoff, we actually got something we never could have hoped for, which was a direct sales force to go out and counteract the misinformation and confusion that was really afflicting our marketplace. So hats off to Marin Green Leadership and a deep thank you from all of us at the MEA board. I now want to turn the microphone over to Gordon Bennett, the president of Marin Green Leadership. Gordon.
I'll be short. It's a sunny day. Many of you know me for my work saving lagoons, wetlands, and wildlife, but I want you to know I'm doing the same thing here. This is important for the environment as well as for the local people here. But I'm also here as a former green entrepreneur before that became a catchy phrase. And I'm happy to work with Marin Green Leadership to introduce Marin Clean Energy to the business community, because I think the business community is really a key player in this, and most of the business community is not in phase one, so they're not directly contacted by MCE at this point. So we're filling a void and working complementary with them. And I'd like to expand a little bit on the people that Charles mentioned earlier. My colleague Alex Bischoff, he even though he's from South Africa, he's turned out to be very easy to work with. And he, most importantly for me, he gets things done. And that's unusual. When I address my cat and tell my cat things to do, my cat ignores me. Alex gets things done. It's very good. Kiki Laporta was just amazing. That brochure, which every business that is signed up has a brochure. It's in an envelope back there. If you didn't get it on the way in, please get it on the way out. You're missing a piece of jewelry there. Kiki did a magnificent job in creating that and focusing the message so it's understandable and easy to read. Sherry Reason was the one who put this event together. She made sure the tents were here and the podium was here, and it was very, very helpful. She also connected us to the advocacy community through her logistics leadership list. And Marla Fields in the back there somewhere. There she is. She's the one that got the most businesses. She got the title for the most business signups, and so that really, yeah, that's really helpful. That's what gave the substance to this event. It turned it from a media event into really a community event with the businesses along with the advocacy community. So it was very, very useful. Jim Scaroni got some very big businesses to support Marin Clean Energy, including some local car dealers. And I have to say that that's striking to me. When car dealers sign up and say, this is a good idea, that sends to me a message. And the message is that we are developing here a new paradigm where going green is not more expensive than going brown. And being green is not something you put on your bumper sticker, but it's something you do every day. It's the new normal. The cost of renewable energy is in a long-term downward trend, and that trend is being accelerated by new technologies. I see some of my friends in the fuel cell community here and other people that are working on new technologies that will enable lower-cost distributed energy. And that trend is being facilitated by new agencies like the Marin Energy Authority, who can remove the regulatory barriers and incentivize local production. That's really important. We need everybody to work together on this, and this local agency has the capacity to really make a difference in that regard. And so now I'd like to introduce a couple of business and public agency leaders who have agreed to speak on this matter. There's many more in the audience I see. I see Albert Strauss over there. I had some of his yogurt this morning before I came here. MMWD, for example, is Marin's largest energy user and its most important water provider. And if Paul Helliker could come up, here he is.
Thanks a lot, Gordon, and it's a pleasure to be here today. There's a lot of connections between water and electricity, not just because the electricity today here is being delivered through a water hose, but also I'd like to mention that from the beginning, we're partners in this because of Charles McGlashan and Jared Huffman being on our board, getting us involved in the Marin Energy Authority from the very beginning. And we're pleased to be the biggest customer here today and will be the biggest customer into the future because we have a greenhouse gas emission reduction goal, which both Charles and Jared were part of developing. 80% of our carbon footprint is associated with electricity purchases. And now that light green is 50% less carbon intensive than the PG&E alternative, it's great. We're pleased to be here. We're looking forward to expanding that into the deep green arena whenever we can. But thank you very much for leading the charge to the Board of Supervisors and everybody who made this possible. We're happy to be here. Thank you.
And now I'd like to ask Bill Petroselli, co-owner of the Book Passage, to come up. You all know Book Passage?
Yeah, my wife and I and Elaine and I have lived in Marin and had our business here for about 35 years, and I've really never been more proud of this county than today. I'm really, really happy to get this. I have to say, if you're in the book business, you know what it's like to fight entrenched interests. You know what it's like to fight monopolies. So I cannot express how much of admiration I have for this group, for their willingness to take on this kind of a problem and to fight the established interests and do the right thing. Let me just say one other thing. The green economy is a local economy is a green economy. A green economy is a local economy. And this is a marvelous first step, but a green future for Marin and for the rest of the state really depends on a lot of things. Just one statistic. During the last 30 years, the number of the average person has tripled the amount of driving they've done just for ordinary shopping. This tripling of driving has wiped out all of the energy savings that we have from reduced emissions in cars. So establishing a green economy and a local economy is a seamless web, and it really requires constant vigilance. This is a wonderful first step. Thank you very much.
So there are two quotes that were up on the wall in my office many years ago. The first one read, "If the people lead, the leaders will follow." The second one read, "Those who believe it cannot be done should get out of the way of the ones who are doing it." These sentiments have rung true throughout this process. At this time, I'm going to take a few minutes to acknowledge some of the many community advocates who have worked tirelessly to spread this vision throughout Marin and do whatever needed to be done day in and day out to get the message out to the community. The Sierra Club. Megan Matson with Main Street Moms. Kiki Laporta and Sustainable Santa Fe. Bob Spofford, Barbara George and Women's Energy Matters. Marla Fields, Ed Mainland and Sustainable Novato. Rebecca Collins and Sustainable Fairfax. Michael Dietrich, Tim Rosenfeld, Roger Roberts, Sherry Reason, Jim Leland from Novato, Bill Carney, Bob Cohen, Jim Sharoni, Ellen Say, Gail Graham, Marie Kirpin, and there are so many others. Thank you to all of you. We truly could not have accomplished this without our community. And we're going to be honoring many of the advocates I mentioned and the ones I missed this afternoon on the patio this afternoon at 5 o'clock. So we look forward to talking more and giving you more thanks then. Thank you very much.
It really is about the community. It really is about you. So to wrap up today, I just want to comment quickly about the future. Today, we plugged in brokered power. And in fact, I remember 3 or so years ago, practically begging PG&E to be our broker. They decided not to do that, as Senator Leno said, but the fact that they distribute the power and maintain our wires, and remember this, most importantly, they're the ones you still call in winter when the power goes out. Don doesn't have a big enough office to take all those phone calls. And so the plug we use today actually is symbolically green and blue. As Senator Leno said, they are still our partner. They do 3/4 of your bill anyway. So the blue part for PG&E is now married to the green part for Marin County. So today we powered on with green power from existing generators. And even if we never did anything else, this helps the market create more of those generators. But imagine what we're headed toward. We can generate within our own borders in Marin County 5 times the renewable power as our entire load. We have twice as much solar potential just on the roofs of schools, government, and commercial rooftops, setting aside all the residential solar generators that we hope you will become. We can do this. Some of the projects will happen in the next 5 years, so that means we'll be able to substitute out some of the brokered power we had to buy to get started. Perhaps manure digesters in West Marin. Yes, that's glorious stuff. It provides a revenue stream also for our ranching families and our local dairies. Perhaps an engine on the landfill to do something constructive with the methane created in there. That's worth 9 megawatts all alone. Green waste, solar, perhaps even from local wind and geothermal. So we have a bright future, and remember that each one of those things helps to create local jobs. Better yet than all of that even is we're going to reduce consumption with that operating margin that's embedded in our cheaper rates. With that operating margin we earn on our revenue, we're going to make an investment back in energy efficiency so that we reduce the cost of this agency in the first place, and we ultimately reduce the cost of your own electricity bills. We'll also create a few new local jobs. Right now, we're powering up training in Marin City and through the Workforce Investment Board for installer and construction trades. We hope to work with the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, for school implementation of power purchase programs of solar systems so schools can sell us power and make money at the same time. And for any ratepayer or solar owner out there who's listening, our net metering program already in place is just simply better in every respect than the status quo. We pay retail prices for that power plus a cent per kilowatt hour. We credit or will pay every single month if you want to, or you can do your annual true-up. And there's no limit on the amount of power we can buy from you. So guess what? We want you to build them too big. As I said to some of my colleagues in the boardroom 4 years ago, imagine paying ourselves for the power we consume, all at the same time we invest in avoiding that power consumption in the first place. Now that is a green utility. I see my colleague and another one of my partners in crime, Supervisor Ross Merkarimi over there. And I'll tell you, Marin County never wanted to be in this place. I loved this idea a whole lot better when a bunch of conservative Republicans down in San Joaquin Valley were ahead of us. And I loved it almost as much when the brave colleagues and the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco was ahead of us. And unfortunately, for various reasons, San Francisco had to do a lot more thorough build vision for their program. San Joaquin got sidelined by some real bitter wars with PG&E. And so unfortunately, we in Marin ended up here at the bleeding edge. Sometimes, though, it feels fun to be at the bleeding edge. The Marin Energy Authority and Marin Green leadership are very proud to power on today with you. And as we plug this in, and as of right now we consume this green power, be sure to tell President Obama that yes, we did. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you get a program, enjoy yourselves, and have a great green day.